Oh, yeah, it says got it or leave the meeting. I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. We are live on Facebook. Hi, everybody. I know a lot of you just don't even bother watching these when they're live. And believe it or not, this little old lady could care less if you watch it in the minute that we're doing it or later. You know why? Because I don't multitask. I can't talk to Jimmy Brennan and listen to your chats and understand them and reply to them and make you happy. I can't do it. I can't please everybody. I can't. So you can watch these after and make comments and we'll get back to you. You can ask Jimmy questions, whatever you like to do. Today's guest on Comic Spot is here out of the goodness of his heart with his Australian hat, I think it is. And he's here taking time to make his life funny so it's palatable for you to listen to. Isn't that nice of him? Yeah. Let me read you
You're welcome.
You're welcome, folks. Let me read you the intro that he sent me. Comedian and storyteller Jimmy Brennan spent a large portion of his life in a high-pressure corporate hamster wheel, selling real estate wishes and American dreams, only to wake up in a cubicle nightmare. After 5 years of working with a professional acting and improv coach in South Florida, Jimmy's been working hard to make his dreams of being a professional comedian a reality. Spending the last 2 years working in the Las Vegas comedy scene and building up his social media presence. In fact, Jimmy thought he would bring his comedy journey to life by documenting his adventures via his YouTube channel, Jimmy Meets World vlog, like video log. Along the way, he documents his journey into stand-up comedy and content creation via his RV life. Find Jimmy currently performing all over Arizona at the likes of Stir Crazy Comedy Club, JP's Comedy Club, as well as churches and corporate events. Jimmy prides himself on being a clean Christian comedian, providing laughter with a side of lesson. You may not know much about Jimmy Brennan, but get on board his bandwagon because between his stellar celebrity impressions and hilarious stories from his past, it won't be long before he's a household name. You guys, here he is right now, the one and only Jimmy Brennan.
Thank you so much.
Hi,
Whoever wrote that might have a future in copywriting as well.
I know. That's stellar stuff there, Jimmy.
So how you doing? How's everything going?
I'm doing good. I'm here in Vegas in the Paradise District. You're in Vegas today?
No, actually, I'm on the road. I am in Austin, Texas right now. So I'm living in my RV and I've just been traveling the country. Las Vegas apartment prices got a little too expensive for me. And, just especially as you're a comedian, you're planning on being gone a lot. So it's like paying $2,000 a month for an apartment that I'm not really going to be at or planning not to be at too often. Especially when you're on the road sometimes and you got to come out of pocket for things and do things for free sometimes and all these things you have to do as a comedian. So I decided RV life, simpling it down and living that minimalistic life was the best way to do it. I somehow convinced my wife to do it with me. And so that's what we've been doing. I've just been traveling around and I've got a lot of corporate opportunities for corporate gigs coming up soon in the Austin area, in Texas, the San Antonio area.
Yes.
So I've been kind of working this area lately. And so far, so good. Texas is good,
That's right. There's not very many drag queens there lately.
I bet not. I know. I hear there's all types of. That's the latest thing. There's another political conversation to be had. Like, hey, look over here. So don't pay attention to that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about little Jimmy. At one point in your life, you were probably 5 or 6 years old, and you had maybe some siblings and parents. Paint us a picture of little Jimmy in your house and in grade school.
Oh, goodness. Well, I wish I could tell you that I wasn't a cliche comedian, but I am. My parents got divorced when I was 9, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I lived in the Manhattan Beach, South Bay area. Then I moved to Charleston, South Carolina when I was 9, and I got a very militaristic type stepdad that was a Navy guy. And so me and him went at it. It was like an Irish war from my whole adolescence, pretty much. I went to boarding school, 2 different boarding schools. Thank God I got arrested a couple times before I was 18 so I could learn my lessons and grow as a person and not have a permanent record chasing me around. But yeah, so I got into sales as a, hold on, let's slow down. But yeah, so I moved after boarding school, I moved to South Florida, and I got into sales and real estate there. But I don't want to jump ahead, so I'll stop there.
Oh, very cool. So, brothers and sisters?
I do have a sister, and we are estranged, to say the least. I mean, I love her to death, but she doesn't love me to death. So, or maybe she does. But anyway, yeah, we're just like 2 cats in a sack, and you can't really have us in the same room too often. But yeah, I come very cliche Irish family, really. You got to call us on the day to see who's talking to who, like, can this person be with that person and this person be with this person? Like, especially since the pandemic, I don't know if you experienced this, but I mean, it's like some people are on one side of things, right? And it's like, I know I do a little bit of impressions here and there. But some people love Donald Trump. Whatever he does, it's the best thing ever, right? And some people love Trump. And those people on the side of my family, they're just like, they're diehard about that. And that's cool. I don't have problems with anybody believing whatever they believe in. Go for it. That's what comedy's about. It's about pushing people's buttons and saying, this is what I believe. You believe something else. That's great. Let's talk about it, right? But then there's other people that I think are a little bit even more chapped. Like the guy's like, what do you mean? Look at I don't know where I am. I like the ice cream, the ice cream, the best, it's great. So you got Biden and then so these 2 people, like, probably nobody's perfect. Biden's not perfect. I mean, of course, there's a whole slogan against him though. So I don't, so it's just one of those things where everyone's so divided nowadays. And it's just like, everyone needs to just take a chill pill. But that's one of the things that pushed me into comedy so much, because I just was like, man, I just feel like it's the perfect time to get after this, especially to be a cleaner comedian, to talk about things in a different type of way, because I like to push churches too and talk about things that make churches uncomfortable, talk about things that people are like, oh, I just want to put it, like, let's just sing songs like Kumbaya, my Lord, right? But then there's like people suffering and pain everywhere, and people are addicted to things, and murder's up and crime's up, and everybody's like, why is this happening? Let's not talk about it though. Let's not really have a conversation. Let's just pretend to have a conversation, really, So that's kind of what I want to do with my comedy is be funny for sure, because that's the whole point of this whole thing, but also get people to kind of think about things a little bit. I don't want to yenta too much. I'm full blown Irish, but I have a Jewish friend that used to call me a yenta all the time, because I just, once you get me going, it's like, slow down.
I'm half Jewish.
Oh, of course. So we're kindred spirits then.
Yeah. I'm trying to go to a psychic to find out which half of me is Jewish.
Oh, really?
But the problem is it costs money.
I hear Ancestry.com can help you with that.
I did that.
Ancestry.com.
I sent in for mine and I got back a dick pic.
Oh, goodness. Everybody's like, we don't know.
A dick pic and a ballerina skirt. So now I've been Me Too-too'd. Stupid. It's just stupid. Tell me some jokes. I want to laugh about life. Let's forget problems.
Well, a joke.
Any old joke or another
An old
impression.
joke. I got a joke for you. People often wonder why success so much.
The
You
thing is
often see
skip
people, especially
the
later on in life,
the
they love to
audio.
golf, and it's like
Sorry, the audio skipped.
it skipped. So
Yeah, say
is
it
it good
again.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. People often. Oh, it says my internet is unstable. Is it all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So people often wonder why people love golf so much, especially successful people love golf so much. And the answer is that golf is very parallel to life, and people love hands-on metaphors. And it actually has the same three principles as life. What are those principles? Well, number one, you have to concentrate. And number two, you have to relax. But most importantly, number three, you finish in as few strokes as possible. There you go. There you go. But yeah, so what else? What else is going on here? Yeah, so we've just been traveling around in our RV, which adds an interesting element to itself. You have to kind of deal with elements and winter and snow and all these things you don't really think about. But yeah, Texas is good, and Miss Vegas kind of got booted out of Vegas. Actually, I actually got evicted from my apartment. I've never been evicted from an apartment my whole life. I moved to Las Vegas, and they changed the property management company when I was living there. And so the lady so everything was cool, and we signed this new lease, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was thinking about going on the road already, but I was like, let's stay here. I mean, we're working these mics, we're stationary. And then they had this new property management company, bought out the one that was operating it. And all of a sudden, like the dog poop became everywhere. There was dog poop everywhere. They wouldn't replace the dog poop bags. Like the neighborhood went upside down like so quickly. And so I went to try to talk to the lady, and she cussed me out and threw me out of the place. And I was just like, whoa. And anyway, so I realized that they had this person there that didn't really know what they were doing. And so I've never done this before in my life, but I sent an official letter, a certified letter, like when you go to the post office, you're like, this is like I'm being for real, And so I sent this letter that was like, you guys have violated this and you violated that, because my dog got ringworm. And so that's why it cost me money. And I was like, listen, this is coming out of my pocket. You guys have to clean up this poop. So I sent them this thing that said, you're violating city ordinance code, blah, 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 whatever. And they sent me an eviction notice like 2 days later. And I was like, how can they evict me? I was like, I'm paying rent. And they said that I was aggressive and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, then. So I just took that as a sign from God that I was like, you know what? I think it's time to move on. And so especially I went to look at other places in Vegas, and I was like, holy cannoli. I was like, these rents are just like going through the roof, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here's a box and a cot. That'll be $2,200. See you in the morning. It's like, whoa. And I was so nervous about them cutting. I don't know if you know anybody that had this happen to them, but I have a pickup truck, and people were cutting catalytic converters off of people's trucks left and right. And so it's like this huge problem. And it's like, it's not exactly cheap to replace it. And, comedians don't exactly have a lot of coin to throw around, all the time until you make it to that Netflix special, right? So that was one of the things that motivating, like things were getting a little, live up in Vegas, but living up in there, I mean, it's always interesting in Las Vegas. I could always say that. And coming from South Florida, it's a little similar, but I tell people Vegas is just a little bit extra on that bagel in Las Vegas.
I was walking on Paradise Road, and I saw two guys the day before yesterday. I saw two guys walking down Paradise with two catalytic converters in their hands. Aren't they kind of small?
Yeah, you just chop them off and it's like boom, boom. Yeah, and it's just because of I guess the metals that are in it are so expensive now because of inflation, and so it's like, goodness gracious. It was like when I was living in South Florida, when the last recession hit, people were ripping copper out of houses and ripping copper out of AC units, and it's just like, because the price of copper was so high that it was just worth it to just rip all of it out.
Yes.
Like, oh, all right.
What made you decide to be a comedian, Jimmy?
Well, that is just a story. Because I'm Irish Catholic, I grew up in this lace curtain Irish situation. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's just like, you can only be certain things. And I know Jewish people have the same thing. Indian people have a certain thing where it's like, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, or you can be a salesperson in an Irish town. That's okay. And so you have certain things you can do, but when you're like, hey, I grew up in LA, so I always had this want to act and perform, and just, I've always liked being funny and making people laugh. And I'm Irish Catholic, so it's obviously a cliche. But my family is like, hey, you got to pay your bills. You got to be realistic. What are you going to do? You're going to pay your bills with laughter. And everyone in my family is funny. So they just think that laughter is just a thing. Like, yeah, we're funny. We're Irish. That's what it is. But go get a job, like, what are you talking about? So anyway, growing up, I had to deal with that. But then eventually I had a crisis in my life. My best friend, when I was 24, died of a drug overdose. And that kind of just changed me. It changed me and made me think like, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing sitting in this hamster wheel? I'm trying to hustle people to do things they don't really want to do so I can make money for myself. Do I feel good about that? Is that who I want to be? And I realized that in sales, like, the best is the person that's stepping on everyone. The best is the guy that will do anything for the money. And it's like, I want to do anything to make myself successful in the right way, but not in the wrong way. So I just started to think about things, but I realized I couldn't be a commercial real estate broker and then also get into acting or get into something that was so different. So I had to kind of it was a process. It was like, I had to say like, I'm going to join the acting class. So I started going to acting class, and I took an intro to acting class. And then my acting coach was like, hey, you're actually kind of good at this. Do you think there's something you might be interested in? So then I had more of a commitment. And then, so I was with her for 5.5 years in South Florida. And then unfortunately, another death. You there?
I'm here.
Okay. Unfortunately, the big C, cancer, is just an SOB, right? And my teacher passed away during COVID from cancer. And I had been discussing with her, because she was a theater coach, and so she wanted me to be to be or not to be, right? And I wanted to be in comedy, and so, but she's like, you don't want to be pigeonholed, you don't want to be, you think there's a reason why Adam Sandler never gets these spots, But at the same time, he's like, you got to go with what you got, right? You never, if you hold on trying to be something that you're not, you'll never get to be who you could have been, or So I think that with acting and with comedy and like these schools, like there's a lot of schools, and it's like, it's a fine line between having to prepare yourself and then being overcooked. What I say, you're being you just got to get out there and fall on your face and see what happens. And comedy is more about that, because like acting is very controlled and very scripted, and but I did a lot of improv training. So anyway, so I went through acting and improv and all these things, and I just had I just had this more, right? I wanted more. And then in improv, I always shined so hard, and my teacher never wanted me to do it. And then when she passed away, God rest her soul, I just felt like where do I go? It was COVID. Everyone's in quarantine. Like they're telling people certain things, and I'm like, this is crazy. Where do I go? What do I do? And so I went, and I just thought Vegas. I was like, Vegas is close to LA. It's the wild, wild west. People don't, it's more like people don't let you push. You don't get pushed around when you're in Vegas. There's only so much they could do to Las Vegas people because they're outlaws in their heart. You know, you can't push people around in Vegas because the world pushes them around. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like people in Vegas are tough. And so I thought, you know what, I'll go to Vegas, and I think it was a good place to launch. And shout out to Adam Dominguez. He's a guy that I think is helped me, and he's a good guy. I've seen him around a little bit in Phoenix. I mean, in the Arizona area when I was there. But yes, I visited Las Vegas, and then I just decided South Florida is not where it's at. And because after my acting coach passed away, there was actually Joe Adler was a guy that I wanted to work with, who was a big theater director in Miami, and he owned this place called Gable Stage, a very well-known theater company, a theater stage in Miami. And so I had my eye on that, and then he died too after COVID. So it was like and I was just like, so I just thought, hey, I got nowhere to go but up. Let's just do this. So I moved to Vegas and started full bore into comedy and developing the channel. I used to do sketch comedy, but I just realized that all the editing is involved and all the things I have to do and preparation. It's like comedians have to write jokes and perform them and get gigs and be on the road and do this and do that. And so it's like keeping track of my journey itself and writing jokes and developing and pushing and sales development and calling people up. And I mean, you know, it's a lot, and people don't understand. Like people are like, oh, you're going to charge me that much for your comedy? And it's like, well, you don't know how long it takes me to develop that 1 hour that I'm going to give you. It's like, you're not paying for the 1 hour, you're paying for all the time that I've been working on this up to that 1 hour. Right.
Exactly. So I looked up online, and you have YouTube video shorts that are getting a lot of views. So explain how it is that you are able to get so many views.
Well, I do use some tools. Like I use TubeBuddy, which is a YouTube like SEO search optimization tool to teach you like keywords to use to kind of catch the algorithm. Because as you know, comedy is just so convoluted, right? You have to know how to use the right hashtags and the right things and the things to right say. I'm trying to use my channel to help develop my skill sets. So because I realized that there is like comedy is like the secret sauce of a cook, right? Nobody wants to tell you about how to make comedy. They don't want you to know. You try to ask somebody, hey, who booked you for that? They'll be like, what'd you say? Oh, I think we're getting disconnected. Right? They don't want to tell you. Everybody wants to have their own secret and not tell people about it. So I'm trying to like, first of all, get people to tell me. Like I have this little short thing I do called Funny or Not, where I just say a joke and then I do some little like editing. Sometimes maybe I over edit it, whatever, but I do like some little things here and there. And I just say, hey, do you think it's funny or is it not? And I'm asking people I'm basically asking for people to give it to me, right? And just tell me whatever they want to tell me. But it helps the algorithm when people engage with your content. And so I'm trying to like help people and also help myself. So I'm trying to like tell people like, this is what I've been doing. Like I talk sometimes about where I'm going in my RV life and all that, but I also talk about like how like joke development. Like I see so many comedians out there, they do 5 minutes. And then I see them the next week, they do the same 5 minutes. And then I see them 3 weeks later and they do the same 5 minutes again. And I'm just like, you have to take risks. You have to be able to, hey, if you have 5 minutes that works, put that in your pocket. And that's the 5 minutes that you're going to give to the booker or whoever to try to get paid for something. But at the end of the day, like you need to get an hour of material that you can hit on and connect on. And it all has to be connected. And that's where you're headed because like, you know, you're getting paid $200 an hour or whatever it is for a gig in a corporate situation, but you have to be able to engage them and talk to them. It's like, and I feel like a lot of comedians, you know, they're not helping each other the right way because we live in this like crab pot world where everyone's against everyone. And instead of like, right, you know, the crab pot theory says that all the crabs in the crab pot, if they just work together, they could just crawl right out together. But because everyone's against each other, they just on pulling each other in. And like, if something's funny, laugh at the joke. Like, but there's too many open mics I've been at where I just walk into the room and it's like, whoa, guys, you guys know that we're all in this together. We are in this together. This is like, there's nobody closer to you than a comedian.
The video stopped. I can't hear you.
You're going through trying to make their dream happen. But I see some times where it's like, is there a way?
It came back.
Is it back?
Yeah. It's a delay, but you're back.
I'm trying to see if I move it around.
Now,
Yeah, it's the internet.
yeah, it's the internet.
Maybe,
Tell us where to follow
I
you and
would
where we
read to another source, but I'm afraid it's gonna. Is it
maybe
back?
it looks like it's back. Try telling us where to catch you live and where to follow you, just in case we lose you.
All right. You can follow me on official Jimmy Brennan Instagram and Facebook. You can also Jimmy Meets World. I will be performing all over the place in Austin. But I'm working on a lot of corporate gigs right now, so like I won't be doing a lot of but I will be at all the open mics. Cave and Creek, I'll be hitting that hard in Austin. Yeah, I'm just kind of putting myself out there in Austin right now. Instead of like me just hitting one city and just hitting that city over and over and over again, like a lot of people do, I'm trying to find like where I fit in exactly in the comedy world. So Austin, I believe that it's kind of up my alley, right? I got a funny hat on. I like to tell jokes, and I'm Irish, and I don't like authority too much. That works out. I love God though, so I feel like Texas is a good fit for me. And I know Joe Rogan's doing a lot of things out here. He just opened up the mothership, and I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but there's also a lot of other comedy clubs open up in Austin just because Joe Rogan opened up that club. So now there's another guy open up a club, and so it's just a way to get a lot of opportunities that, because I realize there's to be a space to go, right? Like there needs to be a way to get it done. And some cities you go to, the barriers to entry for certain people are they're thick, like you're trying to get past the decision maker, the gatekeeper, whatever you want to call them, the booker, if you will. But sometimes the booker's got his best friend that's been hosting a mic for him for 2 years, and he's got to give him that guest spot. And then he's got to give his other buddy his guest spot. If there's not a lot of spaces to fill in a comedy community, it's like, you just kind of have to accept that and, try your hardest. But if it's not working out as a comedian, you need to realize when it's time to, all right, let's try to go work this area more. Let's try to farm this area out a little bit better. So that's what I've been doing. And for me, it's been giving me so much insight into the comedy world and to how comedy works and who you got to talk to and the type of competition you're going to be up against, which is really like what you need to know, obviously.
Yeah. Well, so tell me anything else, little tips for comedians or people who are not comedians yet that are thinking about it. What have you learned along the way that you didn't think you were going to learn?
I would say that you're not too good for any mic. Go to all the mics, hit every mic, because even if you get a bad situation, even if someone doesn't receive you well, you'll learn from that, and you'll learn that that's a part of comedy. And you're going to walk into a certain room and you're not going to be someone's flavor, but then you're going to walk into another room and everyone's going to be, ha ha ha, this guy's great, this guy's funny. And so you have to just realize and they have to learn that, read the room. Like, this joke is going to work in this room, but this joke is not going to work in that room. And you have to learn the difference between those two things, because that's going to be the difference between you getting 5 stars on your gig salad and saying, this guy knew because you did a little bit of research. So I would say that when you get private opportunities, do your research, understand the audience, read the audience. Like if you're going to free zone, like for Vegas, right? You go into free zone, you're going to do 5 minutes at the open mic. Don't be doing a bunch of Republican whatever nonsense, because that's not going to be that crowd, right? Like you want to go you want to hit the Rotary Club with the Trump supporters of America, like hit that stuff. They're going to love that stuff, right? And so as a comedian, it's not our job to be biased. It's our job to have an opinion and voice it, but don't be like so self-indulgent on our own. Like this is for you're in business for other people. You're not trying to push your opinion on people. You're trying to poke fun of things in a way that is funny, right? We're trying to get ha-has. We're trying to get people to that, ha, that's funny. And I think that people lose that sometimes, and people get very afraid. So I'd say like realize, and that's why, and here's another big tip. Big tip. Get a clean 5 minutes. Clean. You got to have a PG-13 5 minutes, because if you get to Comedy Cellar in Chicago, they're going to give you 3 minutes, and you got to be 100% G. That's what they say. And so it's Comedy Cellar and Hollywood Boulevard, or Comedy Cellar in Chicago. Those are the 2 big spots where people are like, oh, it's an open mic where you have an opportunity. And they're like, you cannot say one cuss word. And there's a lot of people that are like that. So you have to be able to like step outside the comfort zone. I know it's easy just to drop a FUCK and cuss up a storm and get laughs that way with your buddies. I call that the locker room talk. Sometimes comedians can get very locker room talk, but you're not trying to make your buddy laugh. You're trying to make like the CEO laugh. That's going to pay you actually money. Right. And so that's my biggest advice would be, get cleaner, try to get a clean 5 minutes, and do every mic possible. Just mic, because you got to get those reps in, and then you can stack your 5 minutes on your 5 minutes. So it's like you do 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there, and then 5 times 12, right, is an hour. And so you got to get 12 sets of, but that's how I don't, it's like, I implore people to try to to just take risks and just do what you can, because I just did a couple months ago, I did my first half an hour, and man, it was a long time up there, a half an hour. And I realized also that I try to plan everything out. I'm trying to be more of an actor. Sometimes I need to let improv hit and be more of a comedian. But it's I realized I planned out a half an hour and it was actually longer, and I was trying to go through it too fast. So that's another thing that people tell me, slow it down. It's slow it down, let people hear the joke, listen for the laugh, go on to the next joke. Or sometimes as comedians, especially you go to an open mic sometimes, I mean, you know this, you go to an open mic and sometimes you won't get a laugh, no laughs, 0 laughs. And so you just go on to the next joke, but then you go to a different place where people are more receptive to your material, then you get a laugh, but then you're moving on to the next joke. So it it breaks the flow up. So I don't know if that's too many bits of advice.
Oh, no, that's great. You're so encouraging. You do it in such a positive way. You're giving me a lot of tips, and people watching it are going to get encouraged too.
Yeah. I mean, I would say comedy is a life, you don't just say I want to be a stand-up comedian. I would say get to it because, it's a different skill. Because even me, I was in sales and I did Toastmasters, and I taught myself how to speak in public and how to have that muscle in an acting class. But even acting helps me a lot, but it's not the same thing, because you got to do crowd work. You got to work the crowd. You got to pay attention to the crowd and be able to stop in a joke and pivot and talk about something else and then go into another joke and not let that mess you up, that the crowd is involved. So yeah, but I would, like I said, I would say the clean stuff and get the 5 minutes down, and then take risks. Don't be afraid, right? I feel like sometimes, and avoid clickiness too. I would avoid clickiness in comedy communities. You're there to tell jokes, to be a comedian. You're not there to get hammer wasted with all your comedy buddies at night. I mean, sometimes you do that to celebrate or whatever, but sometimes I feel like comedy communities become very much about a party. And when it's like, hey, we're here to tell jokes and start a career, not be like, you know, and
It's
even
supposed to be a business. Comedy's supposed to be a business, not monkey business.
right? Exactly. You said it right there. But
Yeah.
hey, you know, you got to take your craft seriously or people won't take your craft seriously. You know, it's like people aren't going to
I
take you
know
serious
some
if you don't take it
bookers that
serious.
I know some bookers that will give spots if you give them sexual favors, and that's another thing. Like, you got to watch your ethics. You know, you're not going to get anywhere by building poor karma. If you're a booker or a comedian, you know, you got to, nothing good is going to come out of something bad. So just saying. I heard a horror story this week about a girl trying to get on a well-known show if she performed favors. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it still happens, and it's not pretty. So, you know, it's a good thing she turned it down and, you know, reported it, but, you know, chances are nothing will be done about it because it's still, I don't know, a man's world, whatever.
Yeah, you know, and that's just the type of terrible thing that happens that people will do to themselves. That just, I mean, even if you're a booker, like, I mean, you're taking a big chance by doing something like that because, like, if somebody like Joe Rogan or somebody with any type of clout gets a hold of that and figures out that you're doing that type of stuff, or who knows, like Whitney Cummings or some powerful woman in comedy finds out, and then they just cancel you, and then you're blackballed from that just because you wanted to get, you know, one quick little like whatever, you know. But
I
yeah,
know.
ethics is a big thing, I would say. In you are your the way you act, not what you say, right? And so that's what I would say too. You know, like with the drinking, you go to open mics. A lot of times you go to the open mics, people encourage you to drink. It's part of the open mic like shtick. You know, like, why do we have open mics? Because comedians show up and they drink, or people show up and they drink, and whatever, right? But you got to make sure that you're, like, I just say, like, I'll drink 2 beers and that's it. You can't go past 2 beers, because you're also like, I see people, like, actually one time I did break that because I got pushed down a list in Vegas, and I won't say what list it was or where it was, but basically the host didn't like me, didn't like whatever about me, the way I smelled, looked, like my face, don't know what, but he pushed me all the way down the list. And so I just like had a couple beers, and then I went up and I was like, what is this? And there was like 2 people in the crowd, you know? So it's like, it makes you want to quit and not even do your set, right? Because you're like, you pushed all the way down the list. You stayed there all night. You might have even drank, bought a couple drinks. You're contributing to the business. So these are the type of things that it's like, yeah, like there's total, call it comedic karma or whatever you want to call it. Oh, it goes around, comes around. But you put the right foot forward, you do the right things, you treat people well, and people will treat you well. And if you don't, then it won't.
Yeah.
I mean, ask Carlos Mencia, right? I mean, that guy, like, right? He was a good comedian, got a little greedy, started stealing little jokes here and there. Joe Rogan, you know, called him out for it. And then, like, I mean, I know he still has a career and he's still doing things, and I hope he learned his lesson and everything. I don't want to, like, you know, say the guy's forever, whatever he is, an eternal judgment on him. But yeah, you got it. That's the testament right there. The Mencia curse. You don't want to do something, you know, or Dane Cook. I think Dane Cook also got caught for joke stealing, right? Or something like that. And so his career kind of dipped after that. So yeah, that's another thing. That's why I learn comedy specifically to what I do to my life, because if somebody else tried to take my joke, it's like, it's not going to hit the same way that when they say it, the way that I say it. So I'm more of a comedian. You know, I didn't understand for several years. Like, I was like, oh, I'm a comic, I'm a comedian. Like, I didn't really know the difference between the two. I was like, I thought it was the same thing. But there is a famous comedian that says that, I forgot the guy's name, but the difference between comics is that comics say funny things and comedians say things funny. I think that's right?
Yeah,
So what do
I
you
love
consider
that.
yourself? Are you a comic or are you a comedian?
I'm working on being a comedian, and I'm not saying I have all my ducks in a row yet, but I work on it. I work on it. I work hard.
That's what we got to do every day,
Yes.
chipping away at it. And I say
Yeah.
like, this type of lifestyle is a lifelong like journey, right? And you could be any age, you could be anybody, and it's like you connect, and then you get one opportunity, and then bing, bang, boom, right? I mean, I just saw a guy that he had like 200 something thousand followers on Facebook. He's getting all these gigs now. And he said that I did comedy for 25 years and never made it. But then I had one short that went viral. And then all of a sudden, now I'm somebody.
Wow.
So that should be motivation enough for people that listen, you just keep going and keep trucking. And like, God's got a plan for you. I mean, I say that God didn't make me a comedian so that I could just suffer and not make it, right? He doesn't put that in your heart for no reason. Like, so it's just, you gotta have that grind in you. Like Americans are like, they put the microwave in like, boop, and then it's like, okay, I get my dish. Yep. Like, but that's not how comedy is. Not microwave. Comedy is like that brisket, like slow cooked for like 15 years.
Exactly. Well, I need to get running, but you've been a delight. You're so informative, natural teacher. He's doing everything, you guys. He's done comedy, he's done improv, he's done sketch, he's done everything. He's out there across the country in an RV. He's put up video shorts. He's got an Instagram. This guy, his videos on his YouTube shorts are getting like 3,000 likes each at least. So get out there and follow Jimmy Brennan. Tell us Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube where to find you.
My Instagram and my Facebook are both official Jimmy Brennan. My TikTok is Irish Gambino, and my YouTube is Jimmy Meets World. One word, no spaces.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been my pleasure to have you here on Comic Spot. I'll put it up on YouTube. It'll get 5 or 6 views. Who knows?
Hey, I love this type of thing. It's great. And hey, this type of thing is so amazing because it's good practice too. It's good to inform other people. It's good to share it. It's just like a good process. It's good for me and you to meet as other comics and talk and interact with each other. It's just a community. And that's what I want to preach. I want to preach good faith and good love in the comedy community, right? Let's get together and let's make it happen.
Yes, and I'll be on the road. I'm going to New York for 4.5 weeks on the 4th of April, and I'll be in Tennessee, I'll be in Washington State, California, Oregon. I'm going to be like all over. So even out east. So I'll be in Chicago in July, August in Texas.
Nice. All right. Well, maybe we'll cross paths or something. Hopefully.
Yeah. Let's stay in touch.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you for the time. Thank you for having me.
The least we can do is do Mike together. Who cares? It's comedy.
Right. Exactly. Awesome.
Thank you. Tell your wife hello.
All right, I will. Thank you.
Bye, Jimmy. Jimmy Brennan, everybody.